Okay, this is test number 14, study guide. Test number 14 goes all the way from sections 1.1 through sections 5.3, writing linear equations given 2 points. Number one tells you to graph the linear equation. It doesn't tell you how, though. We've learned three different ways to graph equations. You can plug in 3 points that you include -1, 0, and 1 for x. You can use x and y intercepts as your second method. And the third method we've learned is to use a slope-intercept form. The fact that this equation is in slope-intercept form already, y equals mx plus b, lends us to believe that that's probably going to be our fastest method to use. Um, since it's already in that form, again, your m value is 3 and your b value is a -4. Um, every number is considered to be over 1. So 3 is over 1. That's going to tell us how we're going to move. Your b value is your y-intercept. It tells you where to begin. We know that our graph or our coordinate plane is going to look like that. This is our y-axis because the one that's going up and down makes a capital Y. But it's at -4, so where y's value is -4, -1, 2, 3, and 4 is where we're going to begin. B tells you where to begin. It's also your y-intercept. Your slope is 3 over 1, your m value. That tells you where to move. It tells you where to go. It's always up or down over how much it's going to go left or right. Since this is positive, it tells us to go up 3 times. Since this is positive, it tells us to go to the right 1 time. So if we go, let's add a couple this way to where we can see them. But from the point where we begin at, we go up 1, 2, 3 times, and we go to the right 1 time for our second point. Once we go to the right, up at 3 times and to the right once, we have our second point. We can draw a line through both of them. And that's the graph of your first line. Number 2 says y equals 1/2 x minus 3. Again, same thing, mx plus b. So your m value is 1 over 2, and your b value is -3. B tells you where to begin, so begin at -1, 2, 3. We're going to go up 1 and over 2, so we're going to need that many. So beginning at -3, going, that's where b tells you to begin. M tells you to go up 1 and to go to the right 2 times. So up 1 and over once, twice for your second point. Second point goes there. Second graph looks like that. Number 3 says graph the linear equation y equals -3. Now this one doesn't have mx plus b form. In fact, you can't see an x at all. So we know that this is our y-axis again, just like from number 1 to number 2. Its value is -3. That means we plot a point, -1, -2, -3. It's going to be there. Y's value is also going to be -3 at this point, and at this point, and at every point that you can possibly come up with. Sometimes it doesn't show an x and a y value. It's either going to be a horizontal or a vertical line. In this case, y's value was shown, so it's a horizontal line. Number 4 says x equals -3. Again, just like the last one, except now you're talking about the x-axis being, or the x value being shown. So that x value is -3. It's going to be -3 here. It's going to be -3 no matter where you put it. So it is a vertical line this time, like the last one. Number 5 says solve the equation for y and then graph the equation. So solve the equation for y is the first part. You need to get y by itself. That means all this stuff that's on this side of the equal sign that's with y, that's not y, has to go because we want y equals all by itself. The only thing that's over there that's not y is -x. So we want to get rid of that -x. In order to do that, that acts just like -x. So you just have to add x. That's the inverse operation. If you add x, it'll cancel it out, but you have to add x to the other side. Now that doesn't give you -4x. That doesn't give you -2x. The -3 cannot go with the x. All it can be done is put next to it. So if we want to put it in y equals mx plus b form, we would put it as positive x, -3, because this is a positive x and this is a -3. So now we have y equals mx plus b, but notice that m is not shown. M is the value that's not shown. You can see b clearly, it's -3, but m's not shown. It's that 1 that's in front of the x. Everything multiplies by 1. So its coefficient when it's not shown is 1. So m's value is 1, which is going to be over 1 because everything's over 1 as well. So here's your graph. It's going to look like this. B value tells you where to begin, tells you to begin at -3. So on the y-axis, again, this is your y-axis. B tells you to begin at -3. The slope tells you where to go or where to move for M. Go up once and to the right once. So up once and to the right once. Now you have your second point, and you can draw your line through them. Number 6 says, again, solve the equation for y, then graph the equation. Go a little quicker this time. We want 3x to move over, so add 3x. Not quite done. We have one more step to do because we don't have y. We have -2 times y, so divide by -2. -8 divided by -2 is +4. Now we have mx plus b. M is this value here, and b is this +4 here. So m is -3/2, and b is +4. So b tells you where to begin. So the equation should begin at 1, 2, 3, 4. And your slope tells you to go down 3 times and to the right 2 times. Because you can see down 3 because it's -3, to the right 2 because it's +2. So down 1, 2, 3, and to the right once, twice for your second point. Number 7 says find the slope of the line, and this graph is on your papers. It's actually more clear because you can't see all of the graph marks. But finding the slope, you'd use the slope formula. M equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. If you could see the graph a little bit better, you'd probably be able to count that you can go down 1 and to the right twice, so it'd be -1/2. But we'll pretend for a second that we can't do that. We'll call this x sub 1, y sub 1. We'll call this x sub 2, y sub 2, and we'll plug the values in. Y sub 2's value is this one. So 2 minus y sub 1's value is 3. X sub 2's value is this one, so that's 0, minus x sub 1 value is -2. Minus a negative means plus. So 2 minus 3 is -1, and 0 plus 2 is 2. Your slope is -1/2. Number 8, you find in the slope. Notice where the two lines, it's way at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see on the page, but it's all the way down at the bottom. You can plug these back into the slope formula again, or you can just count them. We'll use the slope formula for a second just to make sure we're all good. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. You can refer back to the second to go for the slope formula, but it's -5 minus a -5 over 2 minus a -2. So minus a negative means plus. -5 plus 5 is 0 over 2 plus 2, which would be 4, but it doesn't matter because 0 divided by anything is 0. So your slope of that one is 0. Number 9, finding the slope of the line. This was probably the toughest one for you guys to see because it's hard to see where everything crossed through. Those are the two best points I can find to use. Even seeing the graph up here, it's hard to determine which two to use. But if you use the counting method, just to show another method, you would go up once, twice, 3 times, and to the right 1 time. You should get 3/1 as your slope, or just simply 3. Find the slope of the line through the pair of points, x sub 1, y sub 1, same thing. X sub 2, y sub 2. Plug in your values in. 2 minus 1 over 3 minus a -5. 2 minus 1. Okay, picking up on number 10. Using the slope formula, y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Y sub 2's value is 2, minus y sub 1's value is 1 over x sub 2's value is 3 minus x sub 1 value is -5. 3 minus a -5 means plus. So you have 2 minus 1, which is 1 over 3 plus 5 is 8. So it says find the slope M equals 1 over 8 through the pair of points, or the 2 points. Same slope formula, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, 7 minus 7 over 2 minus 5. 7 minus 7 is going to give you 0 over negative 3. 0 divided by anything is 0. Remember, headed 0 at the bottom of the fraction would be undefined. But at the top, that's okay. It's 0. Same thing, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, negative 2 minus a negative 9 over 4 minus 4. Here we go. Minus a negative means plus, so what you wind up having is positive 7, but 4 minus 4 is 0. You can't have that 0 at the bottom of a fraction. That means that your slope is undefined. Put 0 for that one, it'll be wrong every time. Undefined, cannot have a 0 at the bottom. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the graph, and then graph it. Simple. Y equals mx plus b. So your m is 1/2, and your b is 3. And then graph it. B tells you where to begin. Its value is 1, 2, 3. I'm going to at least go up one more time and over a couple of times. So b's value on your y-intercept, again, tells you to go up 3 times. Your slope tells you where to go or where to move. M is for move. Go up 1 and to the right twice. So up once, over once, to the right twice for your second point. Once you have your 2 points, you can draw your graph. Number 14, y equals negative 1/3 x. Make sure you understand that's a negative. I know it's kind of small to see on your paper. Plus 3. Mx plus b again. So your m value is negative 1/3 and your b value is 3. B tells you where to begin. You want to begin at positive 3. You're going to have to go down and over a few times. So begin at positive 3. So on your y-axis, you begin at 3. The slope tells you negative 1 over 3, so go down 1 and go to the right 3 times. So down 1 and over 1, 2, 3 times for your second point. Once you have your 2 points, you can draw. Oh. Once you have your 2 points, you can draw your graph. 15 says y equals negative x. Okay, this one's kind of tough because you can't see the slope and you can't see the y-intercept. But this says y equals negative 1x. It always has a coefficient of a 1 inside there if you can't see it. And it says plus nothing out here. It says nothing there, so plus 0. So had it been written in that form, it would have been easy to see the slope and the y-intercept. So that's your m and that's your b. So your m is negative 1 and your b is 0. Okay, so then you graph it. You're going to graph it at, you're going to begin at 0, so you're going to begin at the origin. Your slope tells you negative 1, which is negative 1 over 1. That tells you to go down 1 and to the right 1. So we got to go at least down 1 and over 1. So we'll go down and to the right for your second point. That's your graph. Number 16 says y equals 2. Identify the slope and y-intercept, then graph it. Notice it says y equals, it doesn't have anything times x to get to plus b. So that's as if it had said y equals 0 times x, or or slope times 0. Anything times 0 would give you nothing there, and then b's value is positive 2. So your m, your slope is going to be 0, and your b value, or your beginning, is going to begin at 2. So at y's value of 2, you're going to put yourself a point, and then it's going to be 2 no matter where you do it. On your x-axis, your y value is always going to be 2. So your graph is going to look like that. And we'll continue the second half on the next video from numbers 17 through 28.